What's up everybody, welcome back or to the channel. So today we're going to be doing a little modification on my 2016 Ram 2500 Cummins build. And what we're going to be doing is installing a set of Load Lifter 5000 Ultimate Plus airbags to the rear of the truck to help stabilize the truck when I'm towing something. Now, under normal driving conditions on any truck that has a 4-coil suspension system, you're going to have a little bit of a nicer ride because it's not going to be as stiff in the back. However, when you're towing something, whether it's a full load in the truck bed or whether you're towing something on a trailer, you're going to notice a little bit more sway, you're going to notice a little bit more squat. It's just going to be not the best setup for towing. So for example, about a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, I was towing my trailer with my side-by-side on it, and I was using my lifted truck to do it. And it worked perfectly fine. The problem is I felt a lot of sway going on in my truck. Either my truck would hit a divot in the road and cause the back end to kind of rock a little bit, which then transferred to rocking the trailer until I slowed down and regained control. Now, I don't really have this problem on my wife's Ram 2500 Cummins because we have a set of airbags on her truck. So my goal is to install a set of these airbags on my truck. But the small concern I have is, will it fit because I have a lifted truck? Now, this is very important for any of you out there trying to add these Load Lifter 5000 airbags to a lifted truck. As long as your lift kit comes with the drop brackets at the back for your bump stop, you should be okay. But if you have a lift kit that does not have the drop brackets for your bump stop, you're gonna have to either buy some or fabricate some type of drop bracket to get your bump stop down to where it should be. So being that my truck already has a drop bracket for the bump stop, I'm hoping this is gonna be perfectly fine. So without further ado, let me go ahead and pull my truck into the garage. We're gonna go ahead and jack it up on some jack stands, and we're gonna take a closer look at what we have to do to install these Load Lifter 5000s on my lifted truck. Okay, so I went ahead and I pulled my truck into the garage. Again, it does fit just barely, but we are able to get it in here and get things done. So what I'm gonna do first is take the back wheels off so that I can have a little bit more room to work with. This right here is what I'm talking about. This is my drop bracket for my lift kit that gets my bump stop a little lower. So if you have a lift kit on your truck and your bump stop is way up here, you're gonna need a drop bracket for your bump stop. So I'm hoping that the airbag fits in between here. I think it will because of these drop brackets. So just keep in mind, if you have a lifted truck, you definitely are gonna need some type of drop bracket to get your bump stop down to where it should be normally. And for those of you without a lift kit, your bump stop will be mounted to the frame up here. You're just gonna have to remove that bump stop because your airbag bracket's gonna mount up here. But we're basically gonna be mounting it down here on this platform here, and then it's gonna mount up top, or in my case, it's gonna mount right here to these 2 bolts on this drop bracket. So let me go ahead and start getting these wheels taken off. We'll get it jacked up on some jack stands and then we'll continue on. But like I said before, my wife's truck already has a set of these airbags right here. And trust me, they do help out a lot when you're towing. So again, when I'm over here towing my 7x14 trailer and my side-by-side, I definitely need to get something on this truck that's gonna help stabilize the rear end more when towing, because towing with this beast over here, it just causes too much sway and rocking back and forth, which is not really comfortable or safe when you're towing. So my goal is to add these airbags to this truck, which should really help tighten up and stiffen the back end and really make this truck a little bit more easier to tow with. And what we're gonna be installing, again, is the Airlift Load Lifter 5000. These are the Ultimate Plus adjustable air springs. You get a whole kit here. Now you could buy a cheaper set that's not the Ultimate Plus, which is what I have on my wife's truck. These are the Ultimate Plus, so they come with like the braided cable airlines. They come with this internal bump stop that's inside your airbag. So there's some really nice features of this kit. And then if you really want, you can add an additional module to this kit to use a remote, which is something I might do in the near future anyways. But this is the kit that I'm installing on my truck. But like I said, on my wife's truck over here, these are not the Ultimate. You can see right here, her airlines are just the basic airlines like this. Now this one here, we just have her airline coming out of this hole, and then we have it brought up to this bracket over here, and that way I could just fill them right here. That works perfectly fine. Some people will run their air hose to the back bumper area and then put both of them back there. That way, when you're filling it up with air, you can fill up the left and right next to each other. I don't mind doing it this way here, but we're gonna get into all that here shortly. First, again, let me go ahead, remove the wheels, get it up on jack stands, and let's take a closer look at this. I'll be right back in a minute. Okay, so we got the truck up on jack stands on both sides. I got the wheels off on both sides, and I have my jack stand in the middle there just as extra support, so we're good to go with there. I went ahead and used some spray on yield and sprayed on these top bolts to try to loosen them up. I just have a wrench on the top, and I'm using a ratchet wrench here underneath to loosen these two bolts here and here so I could take my bump stop off. So I'm working on that on both sides. So once we get those taken off, then we can start working on our airbags, putting them together and finding out how we're gonna make this fit. Now, if we come over here, let's go ahead and open this up. So you have all your information here, some stickers, some information on how to put the airbags together. All that is gonna be in that packet. Here is some, looks like some airlines here. Looks like some braided cables here. Here's some of your hardware here. Here's one of your airbags here. Here's two airbags. You have your top and bottom plates. Some extra plates and brackets there. So we have 2 plates there. Here's our 2 top plates. So here's an extra airbag. So that's pretty much all that's in the box, okay? So this really shouldn't be too hard. You're gonna have top plates that basically mount top and bottom like that. And then you're gonna have the same thing on the bottom. You're gonna have a top plate that goes on the top that mounts. This one here with the big hole here, this one here is what's gonna mount probably to the top of where we're taking our current bump stops off, because it has your opening for your air hose. These 2 angled holes here and here, that's probably what's gonna mount to the bump stop area. These are probably the bottom brackets. These bolts right here are primarily mounting these 2 brackets here for the bottom, because you're gonna have this bracket here that comes up under your axle, and these long bolts are what's primarily holding your bottom bracket of the bottom of your airbag to the bottom of your axle. The top of the airbag, after you mount your plate in, it's basically just mounting to that bracket where your bump stop is. So this really shouldn't be that hard. So let me continue working on taking off the bump stops on both sides. Let me start putting this together, and I'll show you exactly what I did putting it together, and I'll show you how to get them mounted. So let me keep moving on, and I'll be right back. Okay, so we're back. So looking at the diagram, you want to make sure you're paying close attention to the actual layout of this diagram, but don't get super confused. This top plate here is what's mounting to your truck first. So I already have that started over here on both sides. Now I ended up reusing the bolts that came with my drop brackets here to mount this mounting plate to the drop bracket. So you're gonna be mounting the top bracket first, and all these instructions will tell you everything. All of your parts are laid out here. These are the standard parts that are listed right here that come with every single kit. There are multiple different kits. There's your basic kit, your ultimate kit, and then your ultimate plus. I have the ultimate plus, so this kit's gonna come with a few extra parts. So I already started mounting the passenger side bracket here. You want it to look like that. You want the big hole to be out facing your wheel. You want this little hole towards the back left, this hole towards the front right. You come over here on this side of the truck, you have this bracket in here as well. You want the big hole facing your wheel, this little hole facing the front left, and this little hole here facing the back right. So I don't have anything fully mounted down 100% yet. I just have them sitting there. Then you're gonna start mounting your airbags. So it's pretty simple. I already got this one done, okay? Nothing on the bottom yet. You're just working on this top bracket. So here's what you gotta do. You're gonna take your mounting plate here, okay? You're basically gonna slide it over. You want the lip facing up like that. You want the little indentation like this facing down. So it's gonna go like this. Okay, you want the two little holes here and the air hole here facing you. Then what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your elbow, thread it in by hand. It's very tight, so you're gonna thread it in by hand, and then you're gonna take a wrench and do 1.5 turns. And then they want this nozzle facing you, just like that, okay? And I already did this side here. So you're laying this plate on the top, you're putting your elbow in. Then what you're gonna do is take your top mounting plate, you're gonna add this carriage bolt in here first. You don't have to put the nut and the washer on the top just yet. I did it so it doesn't fall out. But you wanna do it like this. First, slide it over, line it up. You wanna do this bolt first because once you mount this plate here, there's no room to get the bolt in. So once you mount it, this nut doesn't have to be on top because the bolt's actually held in place by the bracket there. So when you're facing these, the left side's gonna be the left side of the truck or your driver's side. The right's gonna be the right side of the truck or the passenger side. So once you have this done, then depending on which kit you have, my kit came with these extra stainless steel button bolts. There's shorter ones and then there's longer ones. The longer ones look like this. You're gonna mount those to the top holes right here. And I used a little blue Loctite as well. So that's what we're doing there. And you want them to mirror each other, okay? So when you have your left and right, you see right here, you have the little square over here. This square is over there. The nozzles and the mounting holes are the same, but if you look at the brackets here that mount to the bracket that's already on the truck, look at how the holes are here. You got the round hole and then the long oval hole here, and it's reversed. The round oval hole, the round hole here. So again, everything is basically a mirror image of each other. So I just wanted to show you how you mount that. Then you're gonna get your lower brackets. Again, left side, driver's side, right side, passenger. You're gonna lay them up so with these little flanges are facing up. You want your little square hole to be on the left. You want your square hole to be on the right. And that's what these large carriage bolts are gonna go in, okay, like this. And then you're gonna have your other hex bolt that comes with the kit that's gonna come up from the bottom with a washer, as you can see right here, okay? This picture just needs to be upside down, but it's this hex bolt here with a washer going through the plate and then your large washer and then a nut, which is what these are. So I'm just showing you how these are lining up so far. These are the bottom brackets, those mount to the top brackets. So far, this is where I am. So let me go ahead and continue doing this and then I'll come back here shortly with an update. So I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so we're back and I got both of the airbag units mounted. Now it does get a little confusing based off the pictures because you're dealing with left and right and everything has to mirror each other. So this is the top of the bracket. So when I'm looking at the top of the bracket, this is the left side driver's side, this is the right side passenger. This is what you want it to look like. You want your air nozzle on the right, over here, on the right side of the plate. You want this bolt top left. You want on the passenger one, you want the nozzle here facing that way on the left, and you want this bolt top right. Then when you're looking at it over here, let me just take it, flip it straight up. Remember, everything mirrors each other. You're gonna have your two bolts facing up on the left, two bolts facing up on the right. You have this bolt here with the big thick plate on the left over here and on the right over here. So everything just has to mirror each other. That's all. So just pay close attention to that and pay close attention to each step of the manual to make sure everything looks the way it should look. So now we got these mounted, we're ready to put these on the actual truck. So the driver's side's basically gonna sit like this over here. Okay, it's gonna straddle your axle and fit in there. Okay, but as you can see, it's a little bit shorter. So what I need to do is technically lower your axle or raise your frame. So what I'm gonna do is, because my axle's already resting on the jacks, my thought, now again, I could be wrong here, but my thought is if I bring my jack out and put it up under my trailer hitch and jack it up, I might be able to get the truck to lift up from the axle so that I'm creating space between the axle and that bracket. So let me play around with this for a second here first, because again, I'm trying to do this from home in my garage. I don't have professional auto lifts here, so I'm trying to figure this out on my own. So let me figure out a few things and I'll be right back. So again, be safe when doing this, but I ended up putting my jack under my drop hitch here because the hitch is mounted to like the body frame of the truck. So by lifting that up, I essentially lifted the body up from the axle, and being that my axle's already supported down below on the jack stands, I was able to create some extra space so that I could slide my airbags in. Now, what you want to do is make sure that when you're putting these in, that your carriage bolts here slide behind any kind of hoses or brackets or anything like that. You want them to be free and clear behind there. You don't want them to be in front or you'll damage something. So you want your bolts to go behind the main bracket there that holds your shock. And then these little wings here kind of straddle that block, and then everything will line up top. So basically I'm gonna mount these top brackets here a little tighter. And then basically I could take this nut off, slide it through the hole, bolt it down, and then add another carriage bolt over here from the bottom through this corner hole, bolt it down, and that's what's gonna mount everything there. Then on the bottom, you're just adding your bottom clamps like this up under the axle, and then you're just gonna use some washers and nuts on the bottom of those long carriage bolts to bolt it from the bottom. So let me keep working on this and I'll be right back. Okay, so this is where we're at now. So I got the airbags installed. I got all of the bolts bolted to the top. Everything's Loctited and bolted down. I got the bottom brackets bolted down with the brackets underneath, like that. Okay, so I got all that bolted down and Loctited. So the airbags, as of now, are installed on both sides. Okay, so the airbags are installed, bolted, Loctited, brackets are bolted, everything's nice and tight, we're good to go. Now, one thing you do want to make sure is these bump stop brackets here, you want this big washer to sit in front of this plate here. So basically this bump stop washer here is stopping this bracket from shifting because this washer is set up against this block right here. So this washer stops this bracket from shifting. Okay, so you're good to go there. So we're pretty much done mounting the airbags at this point. Okay, so the airbags are installed, mounted, good to go. Now we have to figure out our airlines. So let me play around with the airlines a little bit and find out what I need to do, and we'll go from there. But what I'm thinking about doing, just for ease, is mounting the airlines where my wife's airlines are, which is right up here in this spot here, because you could get to it with my finger. So mount it right up here. That way it's a very short airline from here to here. I don't have to worry about anything getting damaged. If you come over here and look at hers, goes from here, up behind here, right to there. So very simple and easy to get to. So I think that's what I'm gonna do on my truck. I don't really care about running long lines to the back of the bumper or anything like that. Right here is perfectly fine for me because again, I'm not gonna be airing up these airbags all the time. I'm pretty much gonna leave them at around 50 PSI all the time, unless I end up towing something a little heavier, but that's what I plan on doing. Your situation might be different, so you can mount your airlines wherever you want for ease of access and so forth, but this is where I'm gonna mount mine. Let me play around with this for a few minutes and I'll be right back. Okay, so opening everything up, here is the nylon airline here. I'm gonna set that to the side because that's what's gonna come in the standard Load Lifter 5000 package for running your airline here, and it does come with zip ties and some washers and some basic fittings. Because I have the Load Lifter Ultimate Plus package, it comes with the heavy duty stainless steel braided airlines, and this is gonna be much easier to mount everything. So I still have my Schrader valve fittings here that I'm gonna mount over here in that bracket where I mentioned before. So once I mount my Schrader valve there, I'm basically just taking one side of this stainless steel hose, connecting it to the Schrader valve, taking the other side, wrapping it down and connecting it to my airbag, zip tying my cables out of the way, and I'm done. That makes things very simple. If you're gonna just have the basic package here with the regular nylon airlines, you're gonna have to cut the airlines, you're gonna have to add in these shark bite fittings, you're gonna have to do a little bit more work, but it's not that hard, and the instructions tell you exactly what you gotta do to do it. But on the Ultimate Plus package, I like the idea of the stainless steel braided airlines. They're heavier duty, they're much thicker, they're more protected from any kind of damage from road debris and cold weather and so forth. So that's why I went with this. Another benefit of the Ultimate Plus package, besides the upgraded stainless steel airlines, you actually get an internal bump stop that's inside this airbag. Now you can read all about it when you go on their website, but the purpose of that internal bump stop that's inside the airbag is if you happen to be driving with these completely deflated, you have no air in them, maybe like 5 pounds of air I think is the minimum that stays in here. But let's say you're driving around with 5 pounds of air and you hit some major bumps and this suspension really compresses down. There is an internal bump stop that's inside this bag that if you do slam down, it will protect your airbag from any excess damage. So that's really the big difference between the standard package and the Ultimate Plus package is the internal bump stop that's inside your airbag and the upgraded stainless steel cables. Everything's just a little easier to install and a little heavier duty. So either way, they all work. They're all gonna be fine. It just depends on what you're trying to do. Let me get my cables ran and I'll be right back with an update to show you how it turned out. Okay, so we are finally done. So what I did was after I got the airbags mounted, as we went over just a little bit ago, I came up under here. I actually drilled a new hole right in that frame bracket because the length of those Schrader valves was like this long. And if I used this top hole, it came down on an angle and actually was hitting the back bracket. So I just came down a little lower and drilled a hole, put my Schrader valve from the back out to the front. I put on the lock washers and some blue Loctite as they wanted to. And then I basically just took my braided line up over the frame bracket here, if you could see up there, up over the frame. I have it zip tied up top out of the way. I have it coming down over here through this bracket here to keep it nice and clean and tidy out of the way. Came down, little thread tape on there, tighten everything up, we're good to go. So that's all you're gonna see outside here, okay? And then over here, same exact thing. So there you can see right there is where I put the Schrader valve there. And then the braided hose comes up over the top of the frame rail, comes down. I have everything zip tied up above, have it coming right through there as I did on the other side, down, thread tape, locked in, good to go. So now let's go ahead, put a little air in here. Okay, so now I'm gonna come up under here with my air hose, connect it. Okay, turn on my gauge. Let's add a little air. Now, usually they have about 5 pounds of air, but because it's brand new, it might not have any in it. So let's just try to put some in. Okay. All right. Now you don't have to do 50 PSI. You can adjust whatever you want to make your towing and riding needs comfortable. Okay, so I put a little bit of air in here. And then what I want to do is just take a little bit of soapy water. I just have some Dawn dish soap and a little bit of water in here. And I just want to pour a little bit over the fittings here to see if I see any bubbles. Because you want to make sure you have a good, tight air seal. And so far, I don't see any bubbles, so that's good. Hook that back up, see where I'm at. So I'm still holding. Okay, I'm right at about 50 PSI. So I'm holding strong there, no problems there. Okay, so I just went ahead and I put 50 PSI of air in both airbags. I checked each one of the fittings with some soapy water. I don't see any bubbles. I don't see any air leaks. So we're good to go with that. So now everything is hooked up and good to go. I just got to go ahead and put my valve stem caps back on my Schrader valve fittings at the top, put my wheels back on, and we are good to go. So let me go put everything back together and clean up, and we'll wrap this video up. Okay, so we're all done. Let's go back, take a quick look. Sorry, it's starting to snow. It's just getting really cold out here. So I have the airbags installed. I have all the brackets held on nice and tight. Everything is bolted down and Loctited. I have about 50 PSI of air in each bag for now, just to really help stabilize the back. Again, everything looks good, nice and sturdy. I took the truck for a quick ride around the block. Everything feels a lot more tighter. Same thing over here. So again, everything is bolted down nice and tight, blue Loctited, 50 PSI of air. Again, mounting the fittings right here keeps everything real close to the wheel. So basically, when I'm over here with my air compressor, checking the air in my tires, I could just come up here, plug in my air compressor over here, check the air in the airbags, adjust the air as I need to based on what I'm towing or hauling, and I'm good to go. So now when I hook this trailer up with my side-by-side and hook it up to my truck over here, I'm no longer going to be swaying back and forth or squatting as much, because those airbags are going to help keep my rear end up a little higher. Because before I put the airbags on, my rear end of the truck was about level, if not just slightly lower than the front end. And now that I put the airbags on and put 50 PSI in, the back end's a little bit higher now from the front, if not slightly higher rear end now. It's really going to help tighten up that back end when I'm towing and hauling. And I'm really, really happy about that. Okay, so we're outside. It is very cold outside. It's probably about 25, 30 degrees out. It's snow flurrying, so it is really, really cold. But we went ahead and we put the side-by-side on the trailer, and we got everything hooked up to the drop hitch that I had on my truck originally. And as you can see here, there's hardly any squat on my truck. It's literally in the same stance as it was before I put the trailer on. So those Load Lifter 5000 airbags make a huge difference when you're towing or hauling, because they keep your back end from squatting, and it will help stabilize your ride when you're towing. So what I'm going to do now is go for a quick ride around the block. We're going to test it out to see if the swaying has calmed down a little bit. I assume that it has. I still might actually take a little bit of PSI out of those back bags. Right now I have them at 50 PSI, and I still feel like the back is a tad bit too high for my liking. So I might drop it down to about 40 PSI and see how that does. But again, that's what's nice about the Load Lifter 5000 airbags, is you can adjust your airbags however you want based on the load you are towing or hauling. So no matter what the case is, the Load Lifter 5000 airbags makes a huge difference on any truck when you're towing or hauling, especially trucks that have the 4-coil suspension system. So let's go ahead and take this thing around the block and see how it feels with the new airbags installed. Let's jump in. Okay, so we're in the truck now. We're going to take the side-by-side on the trailer for a little drive around the block. I tried to angle the camera so that you can see right here. That's the side-by-side up on the trailer. That's the roof. So I just wanted you to be able to see behind me as I'm driving down the road what my truck might be doing and what the side-by-side might be doing on the trailer. Now, for some of you that might be wondering why I back my side-by-side onto the trailer instead of pulling it in straight, I guess it depends on your UTV, but on the Honda, it's got a really heavy engine in the back. So I like to try to back it in to put all that weight as far forward on the trailer, closer to the tongue, instead of the back of the trailer. So that's why I do it that way. Just pulling out of my yard here first. So again, I'm still in my yard. It's a very bumpy yard. So let me get out of here first and then we'll go. Okay, so we're pulling out on the main road now. Let me get onto the road first. Okay, so I don't know if you can really see it, but the roof of the side-by-side is like right here. So I'll see if I can kind of move off to the side a little bit. I still see the side-by-side on the trailer rocking a little bit, but again, I don't know if there's much to be done with that when you're on bumpy roads. But I can tell you this, my truck is not swaying. That's the first thing. Like, I'm looking in the mirror right now, and I can see the trailer and the side-by-side rocking just a little bit because I still am on back roads that are very uneven. But my truck is not shifting side to side. It's not bumping around. My truck actually feels very solid and very good. But as far as the trailer goes, yes, the trailer is still rocking a little bit, but again, there's not much you can really do about that on a basic trailer that I have. It doesn't have any kind of shocks. It doesn't have any kind of airbags or anything like that on the axle. It's just a basic Big Tex 7x14 utility trailer. Again, it's about a 3,000 pound trailer, gross vehicle weight rating. It's perfect for just hauling my side-by-side and just a little bit of luggage or gear. But so far, just my initial impressions of driving on the road so far, it feels night and day different. Let's try a couple turns. Yeah, see, that felt good. See, normally before I had the airbags, when I would make like a tight 90-degree turn, the truck would kind of compress into the corner a little bit. Even taking it very slow, because of the 4-coil suspension, the truck has a tendency to try to sway a little bit left to right. But so far, this feels a ton better. I don't feel my truck swaying around as much. Again, the trailer is going to move a little bit. There's not much you can do about that besides drive slow. But before the airbags, when the trailer was moving, you know, side to side, rocking a little bit, it was transferring a lot of that to my truck, and I felt it while driving. And then, even when the trailer wasn't swaying back and forth, if my truck hit like a little divot in the road and caused my truck to wave a little bit, that transferred to the trailer as well. And then that swaying left to right kept transferring back and forth between the trailer and my truck until I slowed down and regained control. But again, feels good. Now I get it. Yes, I have a Cummins truck and I'm pulling 2,500 pounds. It's not that big of a deal. I get it. But before the airbags, I can tell you 100%, I felt a huge difference when towing or hauling. Right now, this feels awesome, and it feels a lot safer when towing my side-by-side. So I can 100% say that the small investment I spent on getting these load lifter airbags installed in my truck was money well spent. Now, yes, I did the work myself, so I did not have to pay any labor at the garage. So I saved myself hundreds of dollars by just doing it myself, and it really wasn't that hard. So again, my overall impressions of the Load Lifter 5000 Ultimate Plus airbags, I definitely give it a thumbs up. I give it a go. Okay, everybody, so we are done. I ended up taking the truck for a quick ride around the block. Everything does feel a little bit tighter. I noticed that the truck is not swaying around as much as it normally did, so that's always a good thing. Another thing I noticed is the truck actually seems like the back end of the truck is a little bit higher now and not squatting down where it was before. Because before I put the airbags on, my truck was almost level, but the back was a little bit lower than the front. But now that the airbags are on, the back's a little bit higher. It's nice and stiff. It feels really good. And I think it's going to make a huge improvement when I'm towing my side-by-side around on my 7x14 utility trailer. So again, for any of you out there that have a Ram 2500 with the 4-coil suspension and you are doing a lot of towing or hauling, you definitely should consider putting these Load Lifter 5000 airbag helper springs into the back, because it will help stabilize your back of your truck. It'll make sure you're not squatting down too low, and it will help reduce a lot of the sway that you get, which is very typical on a 4-coil suspension when you're hauling and towing. So my overall impressions of the Load Lifter 5000 Ultimate Plus package that I installed today, I definitely give it a thumbs up. I give it a go, and I think you should definitely check it out. But that's it for today's video. I hope this video helps some of you out. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button and like this video. If you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments section, and I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. And also do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, because it definitely helps me out and I greatly appreciate it. So that's it. I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you. Thank you. I truly appreciate you all. And as always, see you in the next video.